Yeah.
Hi guys, it's Rashmina and welcome back to the Peppy Podcast. Welcome, welcome. Today we have a guest who is very famous in the climate industry. She's a climate policy analyst and ambassador at United Nations, and she's been speaking about sustainability at many different places. Today we have Aliza Ayaz who will be joining us to speak about emotional sustainability. Welcome, Aliza.
Thank you very much for having me, Rashmina. So excited.
Thank you for coming. And I know this is a little bit different to the things you usually speak about.
Yeah,
And
certainly.
I was wondering what take you'd have on mental health and emotions, which is why I thought we could have a nice discussion.
Yeah, and I'm so glad we're talking about it because it's not spoken about often in my space of work.
Mm,
And even with the daily schedules that we both have, it's hard to sit down and actually acknowledge what our mental health is like.
mm,
Um, Rashmina and I, for those of you who don't know, studied together at UCL, and our degree was about population health sciences. So we studied about mental health quite reasonably extensively. And I think that was a big benefit to me personally in my life as someone who's young, a 25-year-old, working as a business and sustainability consultant in my full-time day job for a big company, for a big organization, and then on the side having businesses
mm,
as a clothing and jewelry atelier, and on the side also having charity practices. Um, Simultaneously, you've got your personal life alongside, which means a big social circle, which I'm really happy with, which are people I really love. I've got a
mm,
marriage, and this all together brings a unique set of mental health pressures.
mm,
And also, there's also really good positive sides. But today we're talking about the mental health pressures. And I think one of them is very commonly batted around as a burst term. So high stress and burnout. There
mm,
is almost kind of constant demand to perform at peak levels across.
mm,
And this pressure is from no one except by yourself, for me personally. No one's telling me, Lisa, you need to do this and X and Y and Z. And these are the expectations. And as far as I know, people are always like, look, you've exceeded this beyond limitations, so you can just relax now. But I think for myself, I know I can grow. Um, but it's dangerous if you keep relying on this practice for yourself. It can lead to chronic stress. Thankfully,
mm,
I don't have anything to worry about in terms of chronic stress. But
mm,
when stress is prolonged without adequate recovery, it increases the risk of burnout, and that
mm,
could lead to emotional exhaustion. It could lead to cynicism, being very pessimistic, and a very
mm,
reduced sense of personal accomplishment. So having that self-awareness through my degree has made me realize deal with mental health seriously alongside your physical health issues.
mm,
Um, and the second thing that I want to talk about here is work-life imbalance,
mm,
which, it's constantly changing. I don't think any one person can say, I've got the work-life balance now, because things in your life constantly evolve. You have new people coming in, going out, new hobbies, new professions. You're evolving as a person. And so striking that balance between professional responsibilities, personal relationships, and self-care can be exceptionally challenging.
mm,
I work in a highly competitive business environment alongside the commitment to charity and my business. And
mm,
that leads to often deprioritizing my personal needs and relationships, which
mm,
potentially strain the dynamics of friendships, and sometimes how much you're available for personal occasions, such as missing out on birthday parties. And in that moment, it's an easy choice, like, oh, I just won't go to the party because it's not productive. But then later I realize, oh, that's what I would have preferred most because that's most meaningful to me.
mm,
And work will always come and go.
mm,
Another thing is identity and self-worth issues, which I've kind of mentioned. But for someone who's deeply invested in their career and having multiple projects all the time, there is
mm,
a risk of trying self-worth really closely to professional achievements or societal impact, but that's not the case. So that internal pressure cooker that I talked about is of personal value
mm,
is not contingent on external success. So you don't need to have a fragile sense of self that fluctuates with the highs and lows of your career and business ventures. Those are two separate things, and
mm,
keeping them separate is really essential. I think recently, one thing I've realized more that I'm experiencing is decision fatigue. the
Okay.
need to make constant decisions across different domains of life.
Okay.
Because if I am, for example, a manager in my role, I need to make lots of decisions about the team and about the client. If I am running a business on the side, I need to be a strategic decision maker. And even if I'm not involved in the day-to-day tasks, I have to have knowledge of those day-to-day activities and ultimately make that decisions, and realizing that the weight of decisions will have consequences, good or bad.
Mm.
And so this can lead to decision fatigue, which is basically a condition or a mental state that results from the diminished quality of decisions made after a very long session of decision making.
Mm.
And that affects both your professional efficacy and personal life choices negatively. So,
Mm.
what I do to cope is having those breaks periodically, making sure that they're in my calendar.
Mm.
It ultimately, all of the pressures that I've talked about require a very multifaceted approach, including setting realistic goals,
Mm.
prioritizing self-care. For me, self-care Sundays, no one can mess with that. I have to just be in my room, putting on my face mask, oiling my hair, and just watching a rom-com. Um,
Mm.
it's really important, this point that I mentioned. If you are someone who's listening to this podcast and thinks they're seriously dealing with chronic stress, please seek out professional support, because I'm not qualified to say that, but I'm talking about some personal strategies that have helped me.
Mm.
I think maintaining good emotional health in this fast-paced, multifaceted life for any Gen Z individual is tough. It's not as straightforward as it was 2 decades ago.
I agree.
Um, Personally, I integrate art, dance, walks, and faith into my daily life. I know a
Okay.
lot of people talk about meditation and yoga,
Mm.
but that's never been well received by me and my body. I feel like
Mm.
it's it's an exercise, and sure, it's calming, but I don't find it as reflective as I do for art or dance, and every person's
Mm.
different.
Mm.
So it's important to mention that there are different forms of therapy for yourself. And
Yeah.
therapy is not a taboo word. Therapy doesn't mean seeking professional help and there's something wrong with you. It's for yourself. It's looking after yourself.
Mm.
And so when I engage in painting or
Mm.
sketching, sometimes even digital sketching for the jewelry and clothing atelier that we have, it serves as such a powerful medium for me for self-expression and
Yes.
emotional release, because I'm doing something creative. It's not as logistical as my day job. It
Mm.
Art for me allows a non-verbal communication of feelings that could be difficult to articulate, offering a sort of emotional catharsis. And
Mm.
so a lot of people that I speak to, for example, my husband, now we together enjoy art. And the process of creating art, it shifts our focus from stressors to the act of creating something. And we're
Mm.
not creating brilliant art that can be exhibited anywhere. It's small projects. And, half of the time we just dump them in the bin, other times we put them in the room. But it reduces feelings of anxiety, it improves our mood, and it
Mm.
boosts self-esteem because, at the end of the day, you've got diverse hobbies and
Yeah.
you come home, you don't have to engage in anything very intensive. You can just do something as easygoing as art, which no one's judging. It's for you and your personal space.
Yeah.
I mentioned dance as well for emotional
Yeah.
expression and release. If a Bollywood song comes out, I'll learn the dance and I'll do it in my
Mm.
room. It's not for anybody else. But I
Yeah.
just I just like that I can combine physical activity with emotional expression again. And it makes an excellent tool for maintaining good emotional health. I think dance, for me, has encouraged being present, the present
Mm.
moment of awareness. It encourages mindfulness in lots of
Mm.
ways. It can
Mm.
be such a good social activity when I go to dance classes or I meet up with friends who are equally excited about dances, because
True.
it enhances feelings of connection
Yeah.
and being when you do it in groups.
Yeah.
Um, Lastly, I think a personal favorite for me recently is, because I spend my time between the city and the countryside, is walks in nature to recharge. Even in
Mm.
London, we have the luxury of some good parks, whether it's Regent's Park or Hyde Park. Agreed, they can be really busy on weekends, but on a weekday, some walks in the natural setting can be so therapeutic, and so
Mm.
good for emotional well-being.
Mm.
I mean, there's no lack of research on spending time in nature and how that reduces stress and
True.
improves your overall mental health. I think what walking does is that it increases your endorphin levels, which
Mm.
elevate your mood automatically and they reduce any pain that you may have.
Mm.
And while you're on a walk, you can choose to be silent, you can choose to read a book, you can be on a phone call with someone that you love. Um, And that tranquility of nature offers a space for reflection. When I go for a walk, it's always some reflective time because I can see, well, look at this tree. It's been through rain and forest and droughts and heat waves, but still there. It's evolving. And, look at this bird. It's migrated from this place to that place and it's changed its complete environment. It's in a completely new place. And I take examples from nature, from Mother Nature, as something that you should be grateful for
Mm,
and giving a balanced perspective on life challenges.
mm. Thank you, Eliza, for sharing with us how you maintain good emotional health. So, I want to ask you, do you find it harder to maintain good emotional health since you've become an adult and had to juggle a lot of different roles?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I really miss being a teenager,
Mm.
and a young kid. And I think growing up, I did hear that, oh, you're so young, enjoy this time. And as a kid, as a teenager, I just couldn't wait to be out of school because I thought, oh, that's when life begins and you can be free.
Yeah.
At that point in time, the only stress in my life was getting my grades, and that was it. But as an adult, of course, responsibilities and passions grow. Managing emotional health has undoubtedly become more challenging. The
Mm,
stakes are higher, the responsibilities are greater, the expectations for both myself and others are amplified
mm,
because that is life. To survive in life, to do well in life, it's becoming harder and harder, which
mm,
I think is sometimes a bit unfair. As humans, maybe we have made life more complex than it needs to be.
mm.
3 decades ago, our parents had a simpler life, but also didn't have some of the pros that we have now.
True.
As an adult, the complexity of my roles and the depth of my relationships adds layers to my emotional management.
Mm,
I think I am learning to navigate these waters, and it's been a journey of understanding my limits,
mm,
recognizing when to say no, which I'm not amazing at, and
mm,
prioritizing what truly matters to me for my well-being and growth.
mm,
Um, and thankfully, I'm in a position to say that amidst this reflection of understanding my importance for personal health, well-being, socially, emotionally, means that I can prioritize meaningful activities. I can say that the day job that I do is meaningful to me.
mm,
The side activities that I have, the hobbies that I have are meaningful to me and they have an impact. And I
mm,
think that's always really rewarding. If you are in a job that you don't like, of course, it just leads to a vicious cycle of you're not happy, you're not happy, you're not happy, you're
mm,
just emotionally distressed the whole time. So it's really important that you maybe step back, take a big picture view and understand, can you break the cycle at some point? I
mm,
am speaking from a position of privilege. Not everyone gets to do what they love. It
mm,
is hard. And it's important to recognize that it's not the same for everybody else.
mm,
The challenges since becoming an adult, um, I think you have to think about identity exploration.
mm,
So you've got phrase like instability or self-focus. And there's a lot of psychological research papers around this as well. I think career development is always a big worry for people my age, career advancements once you have a career already, and then
mm,
personal commitments. People
mm,
often think, okay, I've graduated now. Now I want my first job to look like this, and my second job should have this salary, and my third job should have this title. Then I'm gonna get married, then I'm gonna have these many kids, then they're gonna go to this school. And by that time I need to be a good sportsman in this area. And it's
mm.
just, it's these
It's
this
never
is how a
ending.
lot of people I speak to have their life. And it is never ending. You're right, Rishmina. I personally believe that you have to really, really try hard to enjoy the present. It's such a cliche thing that you hear in movies, but it's so important because life's only gonna get busier, it's only gonna get harder. And
Mm,
so here's where I would emphasize cognitive behavioral strategies that
mm,
focus on changing negative thought patterns and behaviors.
mm,
They are so essential in managing this complexity. And my mom's really helped with this. And she gave me a really good example where she's like, look, if you're a clear glass of water, you're born innocent and you've got good intentions, there are pollutants around you. It could be movies, it could be TV, it could be social media, it could be people who don't have good intentions towards you. It
mm,
could be in family, it could be in friends, it could be strangers, it could be the evil eye. And that negativity blackens your water. But if
mm,
you, from your mind and from your heart, keep exuding the positive energy, the water will dilute and it will become clear again.
mm,
And it constantly changes. So if you're positive, if you are the single biggest positive force, you
Yeah.
will be fine. You will thrive. And I'm so lucky to have parents who've taught me the importance of reflecting on meaningful action for myself and for the
Mm,
world. And each facet of my life, from a demanding career, to launching a business, to doing sustainability projects and
mm,
participating in charitable endeavors, it has meant that I also maintain a vibrant social circle,
mm,
um, which at the same time has sets of challenges. You need to allocate enough time to that. I think an example of a significant transition in my life could be marriage, because
mm,
for me, I found all the other roles fairly doable, thanks
mm,
to a combination of passion, careful planning, and the support of those around me. The diverse demands have encouraged me so much to develop a robust skill set, ranging from time management, emotional resilience, which in turn has made each role not just manageable, but also rewarding in its own right. And marriage has too. But entering into a new phase of your life, like being engaged or being married, brings about a profound change because you are propelled into a complexity of a different sphere of personal growth and say responsibility.
mm,
This wasn't just another role to juggle. It was, and it continues to be an evolving, beautiful partnership that requires constant nurturing, constant communication, and compromise.
mm,
Marriage has enriched my life in countless ways. It offers me emotional support and stability that bolster my endeavors outside the home. Yet it
mm,
also has its complexities where you don't face anywhere else in your life. It
mm,
necessitates such a deep understanding of shared goals with not just your life partner, but their whole family too, because
mm,
ultimately you get their family. It's beautiful and it's complex, where as the new person in the circle, you have to step forward to balance between personal aspirations and collective well-being.
mm,
And this shift for me wasn't so much about the difficulty as it was about being adaptation and growth.
mm,
Growing into this new sphere has been an enlightening experience, pushing me to do more, to empathize more, to prioritize things more effectively than ever before. It's taught me the value of partnership,
mm,
the strength in vulnerability, and the importance of being individually with a shared life.
mm. That's amazing, Aliza. Thank you for sharing that. So, is it safe to assume that things like dancing, art, meaningful connections, walks in nature are like water purifiers that purify the water in your glass?
Yeah.
Okay. All
I
right.
think so. I think so. I mean, obviously, everyone's perspective differs, and it has taken me experiences in life and time to understand that this way of thinking is what works for me.
Mm,
And I've seen that's worked for other people around me. I think probably one other thing that's really bolstered my growth in mental health alongside professional and personal growth is using faith as a foundation for emotional sustainability.
mm,
For many, faith and spirituality provide a solid foundation for emotional health. I
mm,
personally am a religious person, so I find that when I pray, that's meditation for me. I
mm,
don't need to do yoga to find meditation.
mm,
And praying to me, I'm speaking to God, I'm speaking to someone who understands my feelings of peace, of complaints, of gratitude, of forgiveness, of anger, of sadness. And that support around that shared community of people who believe in my faith
mm,
contribute to a sense of belonging and support.
mm. So it gives you hope in a sense, and
Definitely.
it's like a protective factor in your mental health as well.
Absolutely.
That's great. Do you have any tips for anybody listening about how to sort of manage emotional health a little better, being an adult and having a job and having personal life?
Yeah, sure. Well, I hope my tips and experiences help anybody listening to this
Yeah.
podcast. Um, like I said, and I want to emphasize this, I think Gen Z community at the moment is living a very hectic and busy life,
Mm,
and it's all about intention planning and setting boundaries.
mm,
I've learned to view my personal time as non-negotiable.
mm,
Scheduling it is just as important as I would schedule a crucial business meeting or a deadline. This might mean waking up late or waking up early to have a quiet cup of tea and
mm,
writing in my diary, which no one reads, and it's my personal thoughts, which could be
mm,
really silly at sometimes. But ensuring I at least have one evening or one morning in a week to dedicate to self-care activities. For
mm,
me, it's often Sundays, like I said. Um, Ultimately, I think time management techniques can help you prioritize the task around your life based on urgency and importance,
mm,
and ensuring that these self-care activities are recognized as non-negotiable. And again, these self-care activities could be anything. It could be mingling with more friends and more social activity. It could be maybe getting ahead of your projects, but it could just be in quiet time.
mm.
Sometimes I'm just in bed binge watching a rom-com, and that's like mental fulfillment that I need because I'm not engaging my brain in an intense manner. And I
Yeah.
don't need to worry about anything else. In that 2 hours that I'm watching a rom-com, it's just like laughs and giggles and smiles.
Finally, someone gets the rom-com feeling.
Yes.
Finally. I'm
Yeah,
so
no,
happy.
I'm all for rom-coms, Rashmina, so we need to do a sleepover for sure. Um, so what I was saying is engaging in leisure activities like this identifies psychological research as crucial for mental health. And, this research says that there's a counterbalance for stress, for enhancing creativity, for mood, and overall life satisfaction. Growing up, I've used Google Calendar, and that's been my lifesaver. I slot in my personal commitments, my travel times. I
Mm,
spend 1 hour every week with my PA who helps me understand, okay, this is the deadline that's approaching. It's a
mm,
good reminder. It's a good soundboard to understand what's going on and what I can de-escalate in comparison to next week. It
mm,
also helps me understand what I can delegate to other people.
mm,
Um, when I prioritize and plan, following that hour with my PA, then I also look at deliberately planning my personal activities that recharge me, and no one gets to decide that except me.
mm.
Sometimes I don't have to decide that, oftentimes I do. And this can be spontaneous horse riding, it could be a polo picnic, it could be, like I said, binge watching a rom-com or a new stupid show,
Mm.
that's trash TV, just staying in bed, sipping hot chocolate, scrapbooking random art, or speaking to my mom, which I always find really therapeutic.
Oh, so
The
cute.
key, I know, no, definitely. I'm very lucky to have my mom as my friend. She really is. The
Oh.
key is treating these commitments, personal commitments, just as important. And, this is a strategy that's been used by highly successful people, whether you look up to Bill Gates or somebody else in the business area. They ensure that amidst their packed schedule, there's always a sanctuary of time for themselves. And for long-term emotional sustainability and long-term success, it's key. Um, and that brings me to my next point, efficiency through technology. If you are not leveraging technology for efficiency in this decade, then you're completely on the wrong curve. Tech isn't just social media and having Instagram presence. It's not just
Mm,
having LinkedIn and shouting and boasting about your achievement. Tech is your ally. There's tools and apps for time management, project management, and communication that help streamline my schedules. They
mm,
reduce unnecessary time wastage and they keep me organized. These tools are personal tools that I use in my day job and in my personal life. And I find that I can do my day job better. I'm more efficient. Um, I'm automating any repetitive tasks in my business operations. I'm using financial management tools, which not only saves time, but it also reduces the mental clutter which I might have in my head. And
mm,
it frees up the cognitive space for creativity and relaxation. Often you find that if you are the lead decision maker or you're running a project by yourself, that decision fatigue can catch up to you. And
mm,
you'll have a lot of baggage on different sides of your brain thinking about, oh, I need to organize this event, but I also need to buy this thing and I need to set up this document. And so Google Calendar accounts for my real-time events.
mm,
And if there are any changes in my personal and professional social calendars, which are separate, they come together to make sure that overall my week is holistic and that I have downtime. I
mm,
like to take things week by week rather than day by day. I would like to do it day by day, but I find that it's a bit unrealistic. Sometimes things don't go per plan. There are
mm,
days where I am absolutely buried in work and, I don't take time out for myself, and that can carry into 2 or 3 days. And my husband has to remind me, you are nonstop. You need to slow down. And I'll do that on the Sunday. So
mm,
I'll postpone it a bit. Um, and that's a point about strategic unplugging in our hyper-connected world. Once we leave our workplaces and once we leave our university classes, we
mm,
come home and we're still connected to people through Instagram or WhatsApp. People are still putting themselves in that environment where I need to talk about a practice that's championed by lots of successful people. Again, designating periods where you disconnect
mm,
from all digital devices,
mm,
because that will allow you to step back from the constant buzz of work and social media. It
mm,
will allow you to foster deeper connections with your own thoughts, feelings, and those around you. The
mm,
digital detox is more important than ever, whether it's an hour each evening or during the week and mornings. It helps me maintain the mental clarity and emotion balance. Um, so I can't emphasize how important it is to strategically unplug yourself from the digital world
mm,
in a time where it's important to be connected all the time. It's okay to step back. For me personally, I'm on my phone all the time because of work, because of personal commitments, and because I just need to keep monitoring my family and make sure they don't need me. They often don't, but I like to see, okay, when's their last seen? My sister is okay. She's an 18-year-old, but I still look after her. My mom and dad, they're full-grown adults. My brother's a full-grown adult, but I just like seeing, they're okay, just in case there's a message. So I need to have my phone in my hand in case a message pops up because I don't live in the same city as them. They're
mm,
in different countries to me. So it's really important that I'm connected. And anything else as well, when I'm traveling, the only way to stay in touch with my husband is my phone.
mm,
But I find that having that hour where I tell my family and my friends as well, look, I'm not going to be available and I am stepping away, and having that decluttering that mental space
mm,
allows you to strategically regulate your emotions.
mm,
And lastly, I think it's ultimately about reflection and gratitude. I
mm,
think the practice of gratitude has been so fundamental for me. I like taking time each day to reflect on the blessings I'm surrounded with. And as a Muslim, I like appreciating that I have basic necessities in life, like food and water, which many in the world struggle with. So I was born with a lot of privilege. Automatically, I'm living a great life, and I should be grateful for that.
mm,
And if there's any challenges that can put me down a lot sometimes, I look onto them positively and remember that it's gonna pass. It's not worth my stress and time that much. Worry about it for 5 minutes, but then forget it the next
mm.
moment. There's no point stressing about it for constant days. Practice gratitude by acknowledging the things and people I'm thankful for, and that enhances my emotional well-being and fosters a very positive outlook. This habit I found a lot of my friends admire as well, and hopefully it reinforces the resilience and contentment for anyone listening to this.
Thank you, Eliza. Those were some really great tips. Any last words before we end our conversation today?
Um, I think it's a challenge finding emotional regulation and emotional sustainability, but if you recognize that it's a process of managing your emotions to respond to the demands of life growing up in a socially acceptable and flexible manner, it's crucial too. It should just be as important as any of your other career goals. You might have to balance multiple identities, you might have expectations and the fear of failure, but time management, gratitude, and prioritization are your allies.
Thank you, Eliza. And thank you for listening to the Peppy Podcast. Stay tuned for our next episode, and I will see you next time. Bye.